The Dingai Star Domain Spatial Gate Transit Station boasts 11 ring-shaped spatial portals that occupy most of the vast spherical station's interior space. Each gateway is over 1,000,000 meters in width and height, with the capacity to transport 10,000 torch warships at once. That day, the portal linked to the Golden Lion Star Domain began to flicker with ghost light, signaling the start of the next transport. In the main control room of a spectral airship over 20 meters long in the distance, a little girl pointed at the image of several torch warships in the corner of the projected screen in front of her and asked her grandfather, "Grandpa, weren't those torch warships with us yesterday? Why can they go through the transport directly while we have to wait another 8 days?" Upon hearing this, the old man, with hair white from age and nearly 150 years old, laughed and shook his head. "They are the big shots from the Dingai Song family, and the Dingai Song family is the sky of the entire Dingai Star Domain." As the old man spoke, the space gate in front was enveloped in a bright light, followed by intense spatial fluctuations. When the light dissipated, the nearly 10,000 warships inside the gateway had vanished. In the Golden Lion Star Domain, within the pitch-black starry sky, a small fleet moved at extreme speed. "We're almost there, just tens of light years more, and we'll reach the Golden Moon Star Zone," came the voice of Uncle Song Shan over the comm channel. Since they were not far apart and within the magnetic field range of the warships, they had naturally been in continuous communication. Soon after, the voice of Old Master Song Mingsong followed. "Have the spatial jump devices finished buffering? If everyone's ready, let's start the jump." Shortly, the 9 warships almost simultaneously initiated the spatial jump. Golden Moon Star Zone, Golden Moon Floating Land. As a Level 1 life-type floating land, which moreover was not a strategic location like the Borderlands or White Tower Floating Land, Golden Moon Floating Land seemed particularly shabby in comparison. Despite having over a dozen city clusters, there weren't many high-rank torch ship captains. They were even relatively pathetic in number. There were only a few second-rank torch ship captains on the entire floating land, not a single third rank to be seen, let alone the presence of a fourth-rank Zhulu warship as a guardian like in the White Tower Floating Land. The arrival of Song Kai and his party was a groundbreaking event for the entire floating land. They had just landed in the suburbs of a city named Red Leaf City when 5 native second-rank torch warships rushed over on their heels. Not only did they arrange for the highest hotel in Red Leaf City, but they also invited them to various banquets, afraid of slighting them in any way. In the end, it was the grandfather who spoke up and scolded these people, but instead of showing offense, they seemed rather relieved and left one after another with smiles on their faces. Having witnessed the entire process, Song Kai did not show any surprise or curiosity. This was the interstellar Great Era, not the previous existence on Blue Star. The concept that a powerful outsider cannot suppress a local force did not apply here. In the Torch human civilization, where mighty power is, in effect, vested in the individual, the rank of the warship meant everything. As long as they don't kill a large number of ordinary citizens, as long as they don't overdo it, like a third-rank torch warship killing a few native second-rank torch ship captains on a whim. Forget the official governance of torch human civilization. Even the direct superior, the Chengxing Principality, would mostly not care. Therefore, the behavior of these native second-rank torch ship captains was entirely within reason. In the hotel, Song Kai didn't go to the underground battleship summoning room to enter the ruins market and cultivate the guidance technique. According to his grandfather, the Bai family would arrive in a couple of days, and he wasn't particularly anxious about these couple of days. In his personal room, his eyes slightly closed, he immersed his spiritual sense in the ancestral torch and connected to the local network of the Golden Moon Floating Continent Ring. As soon as he connected to the torch network, a familiar alert sounded in his ear. The first phrase was still the familiar, "Welcome to the torch network." The second was a 16-character phrase. "The journey through the starry sea is long and arduous, the fire of civilization, eternally enduring." After that, it indicated that the network he connected to was the Golden Moon Floating Continent Ring local network. Dear Kang Chong, Ship Captain, you are now connected to the Golden Moon Floating Continent Ring local network. Hearing the 8 words, Golden Moon Floating Continent Ring local network, Song Chi's eyes slightly narrowed. It is said that after being promoted to 3rd rank, one could connect to the intermediate local network of a whole star domain, and if one reached 4th rank, they could even connect directly to the high-level local network of the entire Chengxing Principality. Frankly speaking, he was somewhat looking forward to it. After a brief pause, he successfully logged into the Golden Moon Floating Continent Ring local network. The first thing that appeared before him was the common communication channel for torch ship captains on the entire Golden Moon Floating Continent. However, the content being discussed on this channel caused Song Chi's mouth to twitch. Yellow Earth, I guess it's a big shot from the Duchy capital star domain. 2 cruisers and 7 escort ships. The sight is downright terrifying. Grey Wolf, speaking frankly, this is the first time I've seen a cruiser-class torch warship in person. Such ships that can suppress an entire low-level floating land by themselves. The oppressive feeling is truly overwhelming. Old King, but, speaking of which, why would such powerful individuals come to a little place like this? Could there be a high-rank oddity that has appeared nearby our Golden Moon floating land? Shocking JPG. Song Kai had no interest in these inconsequential discussions. After closing the chat channel, he opened the local network's Blaze Market. Unsurprisingly, it was basically impossible for any good items to appear on a 0-rank floating land, with purple relics being out of the question. At best, there were a few blue-quality components, and then a large number of white components, but none of them caught Song Chi's immediate attention. 10 minutes later, Song Kai clicked to open the forum panel again. He typed in warship component as the search keywords and clicked search. He hadn't held out much hope, but this search unexpectedly brought up a post that intrigued him. The post advertised a blue-quality warship component, not the obscure kind, but rather a very popular one. Is it really a torch warship boarding certificate? Feeling a big surprise, Song Kai quickly clicked on the post and scrolled to the bottom. The latest reply from the poster was from the afternoon of the day before yesterday, and judging by the tone, it appeared that the component had not yet been traded. Seeing this, he sent out his inquiry swiftly. Is the component still with you? If so, can we meet in person? His desire to obtain a boarding component was not a secret. Components like the Torch Warship Boarding Certificate were relatively common and frequently appeared, but their popularity also far exceeded the ordinary because almost every torch ship captain would want to have such a component outfitted on their flagship. This had resulted in his repeated attempts to purchase one, but to no avail so far. Naturally, he felt a little excited by this coincidence. The captain of the warship called Green Bean seemed to be online, as it didn't take long for a reply to come through after Song Kai sent his message. Yes, it's with me. Is Nanxiang City fine for the meeting? Song Kai had no objections to this location. Nanxiang City was a city on the Golden Moon floating continent, not far from Red Leaf City. That's fine, then today at 3 in the afternoon, in the northern suburbs of Nanxiang City. Nanxiang City, western suburbs, Baihua Street. Baihua Street was a well-known slum in Nanxiang City. The environment was harsh and the security was extremely poor. Only those with virtually no savings would live here. Deep inside a secluded alley of Baihua Street, several tents constructed from discarded materials housed a few families. Inside one of the tents came a hoarse voice. You've arranged another meeting? Following this hoarse voice, a feeble female voice responded. Yes, I'm sure I'll be able to trade it this time. Mom, you wait at home, I'll be back soon. After speaking, the piece of torn fabric in front of the tent was lifted, and a slender figure, skinny and frail, emerged from within. As the girl left along the dirty alleyway, another bout of hoarse voices came from the tent. Silly girl. How could a blue-quality component possibly trade for 100,000 strands of 0-rank floating land origin, unless... Cough cough cough. The words were cut off by a severe cough, bringing an abrupt end to the previous hoarse speech. Nanxiang City, northern suburbs. This was a small park, and Song Kai, having arrived not long ago, had begun to stroll leisurely around it. His life had always revolved around exploring the alien star domain and practicing the guidance technique, visualizing the mythical mech projection imprint blueprint. His daily routine, filled with constant practice, left little time for him to relax as he was doing now. On the rare occasion like this, he actually enjoyed the sensation. This feeling of relaxation, from the body to the mind, instinctively made him think of a figure, one he had always kept in his heart, resisting the urge to miss. With this thought, an involuntary verse from his previous life surfaced in his mind. I have someone in mind, far away in a distant village. Home is a distance I cannot traverse. Not a day goes by that I don't look toward it. It's been almost a year and a half, I wonder how that girl is doing. When he first arrived at the Song family, unfamiliar with everything and without any means to inquire about matters on a zero-rank floating land across tens of thousands of light years, it wasn't until relatives from the 10th direct vein sought refuge that he sent someone to the White Tower floating land. But it turned out that Shen Yoren and her whole family had already moved away from the White Tower floating land, seemingly to the duchy capital star domain. Fortunately, his clanspeople learned from the Torch Academy in Zhongyuan City that Shen Yoren had successfully awakened the Seed of Torch, and its quality seemed to be quite high. For a moment, Song Qi's thoughts soared. However, the sudden slight tremor from the Seed of Torch in his mind snapped him back to reality. The captain from the Green Bean was trying to contact him. A few minutes later, Song Kai successfully found the person at the park's entrance. At first glance, seeing the other's frail figure, Song Kai was somewhat uncertain. How could a torch ship captain capable of offering a blue-quality component for trade look like this? Only when the other party revealed their identity did he become sure. 100,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin? The moment the other party named their price, Song Kai frowned. His first thought was that they had no intention of negotiating a trade. A regular blue-quality component usually cost about 15,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin in the market. Even if this torch warship boarding certificate was highly sought after, no more than 30,000 strands was the limit. It could never reach the price of 100,000 strands. Unless they had no intention of selling it at all. With this guess in mind, he had no plans to talk more with the other party and turned to leave. Seeing him about to go, the frail girl became somewhat panicked. She hurriedly spoke again, but this time her voice carried a concealed tremble. Song Kai, who had reached the second rank in the guidance technique, had exceptionally sharp hearing. He could tell that the girl was trying hard to keep from breaking into sobs. I'm not asking for the moon. My mother has contracted a serious illness and needs a high-level treatment medicine that costs 100,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin for a complete cure. If you find the price too high, we can continue to negotiate. Song Kai paused in his steps. Instead of haggling, he offered to see this so-called seriously ill mother of hers. Half an hour later, on Baihua Street in the western suburbs of Nanxiang City. Following behind the girl, the two wound through the dirty and disordered side alleys. By now, Song Kai was almost certain that what she said was true. Upon seeing her mother, who was seriously ill, and confirming that their words and deeds were genuine rather than a facade, his belief solidified entirely. After pondering for a moment, he offered the highest price he was willing to pay. 40,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. If that's acceptable, let's make the deal. Although he felt a tinge of sympathy, Song Kai was not about to let his empathy make a sucker out of him. 40,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin was about a few thousand strands above the regular market price for a torch warship boarding certificate, which he considered payment enough for the compassion he felt. Hearing his seriousness, the girl thought for a bit and then nodded in agreement. Song Kai handed over the 40,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin to her, while on the other hand accepting the torch warship boarding certificate component. At the same time, he spoke softly to the frail girl before him. If I'm not mistaken, what your mother has seems to be a special spore infection. It needs to be completely eradicated with one shot. It's better to wait until you've gathered the full 100,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin before buying the high-level treatment medicine. Don't try to alleviate it with intermediate treatment, it's useless. After speaking, he turned and left the tent. In the tent, the frail girl turned and exchanged a glance with the middle-aged woman inside. The woman hesitated, then remembered Song Chi's final piece of advice as well as the willingness to pay a premium for the component with 40,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. In the end, she nodded slightly. Please wait a moment. The weak call from behind made Song Kai pause again. He turned to look back, and the next second, his heart skipped a beat. Through the slightly opened ancestral aperture on the girl's forehead, he saw a glimmer of purple light. A purple relic. Song Kai was somewhat surprised, or rather, astonished. That the other party was able to produce a blue component had already surprised him, and now they had brought out a purple relic, a gesture that indeed seemed at odds with their currently precarious situation. As for why they chose to reveal it at this moment, he had some guesses. It was highly likely that his final reminder had significantly improved the mother and daughter's impression of him, or rather, made him seem less like a bad person. About this, Song Kai didn't know what to say. Perhaps it was most fitting to remark, good deeds bring good rewards. At this moment, but in the harsh reality of the great interstellar era, to be honest, he didn't believe it. Thinking this over, they returned to the tent, where Song Kai didn't speak but waited for the girl's next words. Since the other party had voluntarily shown the purple relic, they surely intended to trade, and it was just a matter of hearing their specific terms. The purple glow flickered, and without speaking, the girl took the purple relic out of the ancestral torch and handed it to Song Kai. Her thoughts were simple. Since she had decided to take it out, she might as well be straightforward about it, considering that the man in front of her could easily kill her with a simple wave of his hand. Song Kai took the purple relic with an impassive expression, which was genuine. The components currently installed on the Kang Chong included 2 red and as many as 6 orange ones. One purple relic really couldn't cause much of a stir in his heart. However, when he saw the specific attributes, he felt a mild surprise. The purple component the other party brought out turned out to be a special individual shield variety, which was quite rare. Even with Song Chi's experiences over the past 2 years, he had only encountered such a component once before, on the Luofu Sword Sect's Zhou Ping's spiritual energy nameplate. Plasma Guardian LV0 quality. Purple feature. Shield value increased by 25%. Consumption. 100. Instance. Spectral energy points. Number of shields generated. 5/5 effect. Generates an automatically activating individual plasma shield for a designated unit, small, with a shield value of 175/175 upon receiving attack. Buffer. 72 hours. No charge required duration. After activation, 30 minutes. Up rank requirement. 6 strands of 0-rank floating land origin, 600 spectral energy points, 6 0-rank life cores. After inspecting the attributes of the component, Song Kai was extremely satisfied. It was no small surprise. He had always dreamed of acquiring such a component, and he had mentioned it to Zhou Ping numerous times, but it had never come to pass. Moreover, the attributes of the Plasma Guardian component in front of him were clearly superior to those of the spiritual energy nameplate. Although both had the same feature, this Plasma Guardian could generate 5 shields at LV0, while the previous spiritual energy nameplate had only 3. Moving his gaze away from the component, Song Kai looked back at the girl who seemed rather anxious in front of him. Seeing that she hadn't spoken, he took the initiative. What do you want? Floating land origin, or white, blue quality components? The girl hesitated for a moment. Can I take some floating land origin along with a few blue quality basic components? Yes. Song Kai nodded and then continued. How much floating land origin is needed? The girl seemed to have considered this point well in advance and quickly answered. 50,000 strands of 0 rank, 2,000 strands of 1st rank. Evidently, the 50,000 strands of 0 rank floating land origin were for purchasing high-level healing potions, while the 2,000 strands of 1st rank were probably for enhancing her next few blue components. 50,000 0 rank plus 2,000 1st rank strands amounted to approximately 70,000 0 rank floating land origin, and one top-rank purple component was difficult to measure in terms of 0 rank floating land origin. After thinking it over, Song Kai took out 4 more components. Here are 4 others: an energy shield, warship armor, main cannon, and shipborne engine, one of each, plus the 50,000 0 rank floating land origin and 2,000 1st rank floating land origin you just mentioned. What do you think? During the previous exploration of the ancient Starry Sky battlefield, besides acquiring over 20 purple relics, he had obtained even more white and blue ones. The 4 components Song Kai was now offering were all blue quality. Compared to a top-ranked purple single shield component, 4 blue components might seem insignificant, but for the frail girl before him, this was clearly a satisfactory price. If she were to trade it on the open market, let alone the price she could get, whether she could return safely was a huge unknown. For one who was still at 0 rank, taking out a purple component was like a child holding gold. Even if she managed to trade it on the spot, she would likely be targeted for robbery afterward. Had this not been the case, why would she have kept the purple component until now? Seeing her nod, Song Kai then took out 2 clumps of floating land origin from the ancestral aperture. After handing over everything in his possession to the other party, he also took the Plasma Guardian component into the ancestral aperture. After completing the trade, he didn't rush to leave. "Come on, I'll accompany you to the potion shop one more time." A high-level healing potion that cost 100,000 0 rank floating land origin points was indeed a target for envy if a 0 rank torch ship captain tried to buy it alone. Considering that they had come this far and he had indeed reaped quite a harvest today, he decided to continue playing the Good Samaritan. After all, it wouldn't take more than an hour. Thank you. The girl's face was filled with joy, as the middle-aged woman lying in bed next to her also struggled to sit up. "Son, we mother and daughter have nothing with which to repay your great kindness right now. May we know your name, so if we have the chance in the future, we must come to express our gratitude in person." The words spoken by the other party were quite proper, and this made Song Kai even more certain of the guess in his mind. Spore infection, purple relic. The other party apparently had some family background before, only having encountered an accident during exploration in the alien star domain, which led to their current plight. No need for home visiting gratitude. These 2 components are indeed what I need at the moment, so let's consider it a mutual benefit. As for my name, just call me Song Kai. Nanxiang City Center, the Nanxiang Blaze Market. Having successfully purchased a high-level healing potion with 100,000 strands of 0 rank floating land origin, the 2 swiftly left the market. Outside the market entrance, the frail girl with a mask deliberately worn on her face clutched the exquisite hand carry case tightly, and once again bowed deeply to thank Song Kai. "Big brother Song, I really can't thank you enough." Song Kai raised his hand lightly, interrupting her subsequent words, and at the same time turned his head to look back at the market entrance. The spectral energy that had been restrained inside him suddenly burst forth, emitting the imposing presence of a second-rank life entity. This action made everyone near the market entrance suddenly feel as if they were carrying a heavy burden. Song Kai didn't speak. His icy gaze swept over the faces of several seemingly ordinary people not far behind him. Being stared at by him, these individuals who had been following them since they left the market felt their hairs stand on end, overwhelmed by an intense sense of impending death. After doing all this, Song Kai retracted his released spectral energy, and the terrifying oppression quickly dissipated into nothing. "Let's go." The frail girl stood stunned, then uttered a soft, "oh," and followed his footsteps. Turning to look behind them, until Song Kai and the girl disappeared into the crowd. The hundreds of people near the market entrance didn't dare to move a step. As for those torch ship captains with malicious intentions, they were completely soaked by the cold sweat they had broken out in. In the western outskirts of Nanxiang City, after escorting the girl to her tent, Song Kai didn't linger any longer and summoned Kang Chong to shoot straight into the vault of heaven. Outside the tent, not until the Kang Chong had completely disappeared into the clouds did the girl turn and enter the tent. Soon, quiet conversation could be heard from inside the tent. Has he gone? Yes, Your Honor, remember this kindness. If an opportunity arises in the future. Cough cough cough. Mom, I know, you should use this high-level healing potion first. Besides, the Chengxing Principality is so vast, it might be very difficult to find Big Brother Song again. After pausing for a moment, the hoarse voice of the middle-aged woman spoke up again. Your experience is still too shallow. To casually produce 4 blue components and not show too much excitement in front of Plasma Guardian, and most importantly, his surname is Song. How many families in the Chengxing Principality could it be? Mom, are you saying that Big Brother Song comes from the Dingai Song family up north? 8 or 9 out of 10. Within the clouds, Song Kai looked at the 2 components in front of him with a smile on his face. Torch Warship Boarding Certificate LV30 Quality, Blue. Consumption. 100 points per person, Spectral Energy Points. Maximum number of people. 0.001 effect. Seals the energy within the bodies of those on board, for 24 hours. Removes the restriction of consuming floating land origin within the capacity limit. Up rank requirement. 8 strands of floating land origin, 3rd ranked, 40,000 spectral energy points. Plasma Guardian LV20 quality. Purple feature. Shield value increased by 50%. Consumption. 2,000, instance, spectral energy points. Number of shields generated. 2020 effect. Generates a shield with a shield value of 22,500 for a designated unit, small, which can activate automatically upon being attacked, an individual plasma shield. Buffer. 48 hours, no charge required duration, after activation, 90 minutes. Up rank requirement. 15 strands of 2nd rank floating land origin, 5,000 spectral energy points. 15 2nd rank life cores, 1 titanium crystal. With enhancement, both their attributes received different boosts. Not to mention the Torch Warship Boarding Certificate component, it's only necessary when carrying passengers and hardly plays a role on ordinary days. His attention was more focused on the Plasma Guardian component. After being enhanced to LV20, it could generate up to 20 shields. Consequently, they could completely bestow it onto 20 Void Assassin Clan soldier figurines. With these 2nd rank individual shields for protection, the Void Assassin Clan soldier figurines would not only retain their formidable offensive power but also gain impressive defensive capabilities, significantly increasing their combat power. However, the recently upgraded 2nd rank, Plasma Guardian, was still somewhat insufficient, with only 20 shields, which were not enough to equip all the Void Assassin Clan soldier figurines, not to mention that the shield value was also somewhat low, barely over 20,000, which hardly provided much sense of security. Further enhancement to 3rd rank might offer a significant boost, but for now he lacked titanium crystals and had to wait until the next Ruins market trade with Zhou Ping to obtain the 50 he needed to enhance it to LV30 in one go. Additionally, if the Copper Mountain floating land operation were successful, he should also be able to acquire a good amount of titanium crystals. Despite some dissatisfaction, Song Kai immediately bestowed upon himself a Plasma Guardian shield. After the endowment, there appeared to be no change to him. In fact, that was not the case. The Plasma Guardian shield was invisible to the naked eye until triggered, forming a protective light shield around the body only when sensing a threat or when the host activated it. Time passed quickly, and by the following evening, they had successfully awaited the arrival of the Bai family's emissaries. Outside the Golden Moon floating continent, In outer space, more than 30 torch warships hovered silently. Song Kai and Song Chi were somewhat surprised. This time the Bai family had come with more than 20 people, including 3 third-rank torch ship captains. Apart from Auntie Shirong, there were 2 other senior third-rank torch captains. In addition, there were 22nd-rank captains, an intimidating force. Perhaps noticing their surprise, Chen Lixia, his mother, explained in the communication projection group chat. The Bai family of the duchy capital Star Domain has a history of over 3,000 years, even longer than our Song family. Although your Auntie Shirong's lineage has declined, its vein opening dates back over 1,000 years, with a vast base of family members. There are quite a few second-rank and third-rank torch ship captains, but they lack fourth-rank individuals who could hold sway over the family affairs. Hearing this explanation, Song Kai and his brother nodded in sudden understanding. At the same time, they further speculated a lot in their hearts. A vein opening of over 1,000 years would be at least at the level of the third direct vein in their Song family, but lacking fourth-rank torch captains to show face, it was indeed not an overstatement to call it decline. Consider that within the third direct vein of the Song family, there were openly 3 fourth-rank clan elders, and there must certainly be others hidden in the shadows. Compared to this, Auntie Shirong's 1,000-year heritage did indeed feel like a bluff. Musing over this, the negotiation between his grandfather and Auntie Shirong reached a conclusion, and his grandfather's voice came through the communication projection group chat. We need to use the warship integration device for alien star domain exploration, so we can only leave behind 2 torch warships. Everyone, call back to your flagships and come aboard the Furious Lion. Upon hearing this, his eldest uncle and father had no objections, but Song Chi's eyes showed a hint of hesitation. If he remembered correctly, on his grandfather's Furious Lion, the only warship armor was the purple type, and even with third-rank ship body added, it seemed not as safe as his neutron star core armor. If something were to happen during the transfer, it would be problematic if the Furious Lion couldn't hold up. At that time, with his spectral energy bound by the torch warship boarding certificate, he wouldn't be able to summon the Kang Chong, let alone enter the ruins market. It would truly be a case of calling out without an answer from heaven or earth. As for why use the torch warship boarding certificate, and not simply wait 24 hours to return, this was not a concern. Their planned stay on Copper Mountain floating land was estimated at about half a month, not just a 24-hour return, and the Bai family's more than 20 people had arrangements for a special transit warship, which would not affect their subsequent return. Little Kai, what's wrong? Capturing his great-grandson's indecisive expression, Song Mingsong proactively inquired. After hesitating for a moment, Song Kai still felt it better to have control in his own hands. Grandfather, let's board my Kang Chong. As these words were spoken, there wasn't much change on Song Mingsong's face, but the others looked collectively surprised. Ignoring everyone's expressions, Song Mingsong lowered his rough voice and said solemnly, Little Kai, are you sure? Song Chi's gaze was firm. Yes. Song Mingsong agreed, and the rest of the family naturally had no objections. One after another, they recalled their flagship. On the Kangchong, the newly acquired torch warship boarding certificate officially came into play, albeit with a limitation of just 6 people. Both his grandfather and great-uncle were not included. After all, they were headed to an unknown star domain, and it was essential to anticipate various unexpected situations beforehand. The only 2 third-rank torch captains in the family naturally needed to maintain their combat power. Moreover, Song Kai was not lacking second-rank floating land origins. With the deduction of 20 threads of second-rank floating land origin, those from the Bai family also boarded the warship. Just like the Song family, what the Bai family left behind was an escort ship. Clearly, they too wanted to preserve the combat power of a third-rank torch captain without wasting third-rank level floating land origins unnecessarily. As the Kangchong and the escort ship from the opposite side approached, a beam of light shot out from the body of the ship, quickly securing both warships together. At the same time, the other party also initiated the charge for interstellar domain projection right away. As time passed, the Kangchong had already deducted over 100 threads of second-rank floating land origin. Although 100 threads of second-rank floating land origin were no longer a significant amount to the current Song Kai, the idea of such wastefulness still made him feel somewhat regretful. In fact, there was a way to avoid this unnecessary consumption, by creating several additional integration light bands with the coupling device and integrating multiple torch warships at the same time. However, the problem was that only high-quality coupling devices could achieve that, and coupling devices were already rare, with high-quality ones being even scarcer. It was very difficult to come by one. At least among the more than 20 torch warships of the Bai family, there wasn't one. Song Kai understood this well, as he too had always been on the lookout for such components. Yet, after such a long time, he hadn't even encountered a coupling device of the lowest blue quality, let alone ones of purple or orange quality. Musing, a sudden sense of weightlessness washed over him, drawing his soaring thoughts back to reality. The projection was about to begin. The coordinates indicated by the Pathfinder mark from the Bai family were situated directly above a piece of starry sea floating land. Just recovering from intense dizziness, Song Kai immediately noticed the vast starry sea floating land below, both its length and width exceeding 3 million kilometers. Compared to those lush life-bearing floating lands, the colors on this third-rank starry sea floating land were much more monotonous, with gray-brown seemingly its entirety. Gray-brown mountains, gray-brown craters, gray-brown ravines. Another glance at the radar map generated by the Silver 3 generation Super Wave Magical Energy Detection Radar showed no trace of life energy fluctuations, whereas some sparse signs of fragment belt creatures were detected in the nearby small fragment belt. Song Kai wasn't surprised by this either. The land below was Copper Mountain Continent, and indeed, the Bai family had mentioned that a fourth-rank level golden armored giant beast lay dormant on this continent. However, it was in the depths of a large copper ore, thousands and tens of thousands of meters beneath the surface, far exceeding the depth that the current, Silver 3 generation Super Wave Magical Energy Detection Radar could penetrate. It was quite normal not to detect the creature's traces. As he pondered this, Song Kai opened the cabin door, and his grandfather and great-uncle were the first to disembark from the Kangchong. On the other side, just as the furious lion and mountain appeared, 3-kilometer-long warships emerged almost simultaneously, belonging to the Bai family's 3 cruisers. The moment the 5 cruisers appeared, the atmosphere of the surrounding starspace grew heavier. The magnetic wave energy field emitted by the kilometer-long hulls far surpassed that of the second-rank torch warships. Meanwhile, the magnetic wave communication projection group chat connected the 7 torch warships, and a special image came from one of the cruisers from the Bai family. It was a special subterranean detection map, displaying the giant silhouette of a creature lying at a depth of 10,000 meters, a 4-legged beast resembling a rhinoceros from Blue Star in a past life, currently curled up in the depths of a large copper ore mine below. All right, let's head down first. Find a safe spot to wait for 24 hours. We'll use this time to prepare a more detailed battle plan, and we will take action officially after a day. In the magnetic wave communication projection group chat, the voice of Aunt Shokin, representing both the Song and Bai families, was the first to ring out. With grandmother Bai Shokin not present, she naturally had to speak up on many matters as the connecting link between the 2 families. The 7 torch warships descended toward the land below. Of course, the direction they chose to land was extremely far from the large copper ore where the golden armored giant beast lay dormant, on the other side of Copper Mountain Continent. After successfully finding a temporary base, the remaining 20-plus members of both families disembarked one after another from the 2 escort ships. At the same time, dozens of soldier figurines were summoned from the cruisers as well. These second-rank torch ship captains were absolute core members under the 2 families' command. During these next 24 hours of recovery time, their safety had to be assured. Within the Kangchong main control room, Song Chi's gaze sharpened as he focused intently on the 20 soldier figurines summoned from the central cruiser of the Bai family. Are these 4th rank level soldier figurines? Indeed, the 20 centaur-shaped soldier figurines summoned by the other party radiated an aura that was unmistakably pseudo 4th rank, without a doubt, all of them enhanced to level 40 or above. And from this detail, much could be inferred. First, the members of the Bai family on this veteran cruiser have a torch seed that is at least purple. Second, this cruiser might also have other components enhanced to the 4th rank level, and it is highly probable that it will be the key battle force against the 4th rank golden armored giant beast. Furthermore, it is very likely that it is the decision maker among the 3 cruisers of the Bai family currently present. This situation is clearly not only noticed by Song Kai alone, his grandfather and eldest uncle have also realized this, as they are currently discussing the matter through private communications on the Furious Lion and the Mountain. Dad, this is a subtle show of force. It seems that they might complicate matters regarding the distribution of the profits later on. Compared to Song Shan's diplomatic words, Song Mingsong is much more direct, only to hear him snort and say, "That old fogey Bai Chongwen, who's over 500 years old and nearly in his grave, still likes to play these games." While the younger generation like Song Kai is unaware of the specifics regarding the other 2 cruisers, Song Mingsong is keenly informed. Bai Chongwen, the current highest-ranking member of Bai Shirong's lineage, is now over 570 years old, and his days are numbered. However, precisely because of this, his over 500 years of experience as a torch ship captain have made his flagship extremely powerful, and no one knows what kind of trump card he has. What surprises Song Mingsong, though, is that in his memory, Bai Chongwen was still a blue torch seed 80 years ago. It is unclear when he advanced to purple fire. From this point, it leads him to think of many things, only to hear him say in a low voice, "Big brother, if I'm not mistaken, this titanium crystal vein might be just a side issue. What the Bai family really wants could be the corpse of that golden armored giant beast." Upon hearing this, Song Shan is not lacking in insight and has already thought of the implication behind Song Mingsong's words. "Dad, are you talking about the primordial blood of a 4th rank lifeform?" Song Mingsong nods. Exactly. Primordial blood, which can only be refined by 4th rank and above lifeforms, not only improves the odds of a cruiser advancing to a contending warship but is also an effective aid for torch ship captains in breaking through high-level guidance techniques. It is a rare resource coveted by 3rd rank torch ship captains at their peak and even 4th rank ship captains. Just not sure if he wants to use that drop of primordial blood on himself or on his flagship. After Song Mingsong finished speaking, Song Shan, still with some doubts on his face, continued. 4th rank primordial blood, this stuff is not easy to extract. It requires a torch ship captain of the same rank to take action, and it will take a significant amount of time. Are they planning to bring it back for the 4th rank ancestor of the Bai family to handle? That's a 4th rank starry sky behemoth we're talking about, and its body is naturally much larger than that of other lifeforms of the same rank. Song Mingsong is also puzzled by this. Who knows? Maybe they have special components for proportional scaling. Besides, big brother, you're not thinking it through. Even if they were to take the corpse of that golden armored giant beast back later, they most likely would not seek out those 4th rank torch ship captains above in the Bai clan. The internal factional strife within the Bai clan of the capital star domain is far more intense than you imagine. Seeing Song Shan's face filled with curiosity, Song Mingsong continued. If it weren't for this, why would they bother coming to seek us out for a collaboration? Wouldn't it be much simpler to call on their own people? After all, the Bai family has a history of more than 3,000 years. If it were like our Song family, unanimous in major matters under the personal decree of our ancestors, how would they have never had an absolute decision maker of the 5th rank level? Advancement to 5th rank may be difficult, but that alone wouldn't keep a family that has carried on for thousands of years, with several fourth-rank torch ship captains, permanently out in the cold unless they were severely hampering themselves internally. Song Shan's face tightened slightly. After all, he was not yet 150 years old, and he hadn't been at third rank for long. Some things were naturally not as clear to him as they were to Song Ming Song. Dad, do you mean to say, if other branches of the Bai family knew about Aunt Shirong's operation, someone would deliberately cause trouble? Aren't they all from the same family? Even with some disputes on regular days, it surely wouldn't go this far, right? Hearing this, Song Ming Song chuckled and shook his head. Big brother, you're still a bit naive. A family without an absolute authoritative controller will naturally evolve into this. 3,000 years is a long time, not just a figure of speech, and the factions that have arisen within are so complex they could make you question your life. You can look to the Eagle family in the Golden Wind Star domain for reference. Compared to them, the Bai family is just child's play. Over there, 3 fifth-rank legitimate ship captains are vying for supremacy, and several contending warship captains have died over the millennia from internal strife. After hearing this last sentence, Song Shan was thoroughly speechless. He had heard a bit about the infighting between the 3 branches of the Eagle family, but he had never imagined that it involved the fall of 4th-rank torch ship captains. To be honest, this was no longer just shocking to him. A 4th-rank contending warship captain, what kind of existence was that? Even within the Dinghai Song family, such a person would be an esteemed clan elder with an extraordinary family status. Perhaps not the Dinghai divine needle of the family, but certainly at least a pillar of combat power, indispensable and of critical importance. Yet such powerful individuals were dying in the family's internal strife, which was really quite unbelievable. This illustrates just how intense the internal struggles of the Eagle family must have been. Song Shan even suspected that if it weren't for the explicit rules of torch human civilization, that battleships and larger torch warships were prohibited from personal involvement in internal struggles, those 3 fifth-rank individuals of the Eagle family would have come to blows. That's right. 5th-rank level torch warships are battleships, and under the rules set jointly by the 4 great super empires of torch human civilization, the internal struggles of torchlight humanity can only escalate to the level of 4th-rank contending warships. Of course, just because battleships cannot take action themselves, it doesn't mean they lack deterrence. Quite the contrary, within the Chengxing Principality, only powers in possession of battleship-level strength are considered real top-tier forces. For example, the Dinghai Song family, the Eagle family, or the royal Chengxing clan of the principality itself. And a family like the Bai family would only be considered an upper-tier power within the principality, with a certain influence, but only within their own star domain, nowhere near the illustrious reputation of those few families across the entire principality. Even the royal Chengxing clan has a significant reputation in the surrounding nations. Rosetta Chengxing is revered by neighboring countries as the Grand Duke of Chengxing, or the Grand Duke Rosetta, representing almost half of the principality on his own. Seeing Song Shan's face looking unsettled, Song Ming Song interrupted him. All right, don't think too much about it. You just need to know one thing. Our Song family's traditions can be ranked among the top 3 in the entire principality, so you don't have to worry about these things. And before we set off, I had already reported in advance to the family. Even if the other party really dares to have improper thoughts, the whole Bai family will suffer the most severe retaliation from our family afterward. They don't have the guts for more than perhaps trying to pressure us a bit in the subsequent profit distribution. Hearing this, Song Shan wasn't very convinced. Reporting in advance must be true, but it was most likely proposed by Bai Shokan, not Song Ming Song. The character of the old man wouldn't allow him to deal with these roundabout things, it was only Bai Shokan's suggestions he would take seriously. Song Kai, of course, had no idea about his grandfather and uncle's conversation. He did not enter the ruins market nor call back the Kang Chong, and he did not completely extinguish the thrusters of the Kang Chong, but kept the dark matter energy shield generator running continuously. He constantly reminded himself that beneath the land where he stood lay a slumbering fourth-rank starry sky behemoth, and there was no room for carelessness. Indeed, not just he, but all 7 torch warships at the moment were acting this way. Both the Bai and Song families were large families in the Chengxing Principality. Naturally, the education of their clan members need not be mentioned. No one would make the low-level mistake of relaxing before the battle. However, even though he could not enter the ruins market to practice the guidance technique, the visualization of the mythical mech projection imprint chart was unaffected. Dividing a part of his spiritual force to monitor the outside world, and having instructed the humanoid alien race member Share to always pay attention to the surroundings, Song Kai took out several high-quality soul stones and began his visualization. To raise his spiritual force to the level of 6-fold mind utilization, he still needed to continuously use high-quality soul stones and even soul cores from 2nd and 3rd rank, in combination with visualization, and he could not afford to slack. This time, the visualization lasted only an hour, far less than the usual minimum of 3 hours, but this allowed him to avoid exhaustion from overuse of spiritual force, and after just a few hours of light sleep, he would be back in peak condition. Time passed, and the next day soon arrived. Before the 24-hour return deadline, Song Kai temporarily retracted the Kangchong back into the ancestral torch and refused the return. However, the situation was different for the escort ship in the Bai family's team. It had been stationed there for a while and had recently summoned 2 second-rank members of the Bai family. They soared to the vault of heaven and soon disappeared from this starry space along with the warship. These 2 had previously been responsible for monitoring the situation of the copper ore here, and their flagship would act as an intermediary warship to pick up personnel for the second time. Moreover, both would not come at the same time. The first ship would attempt to make the drop after half a month, and should an accident occur en route, the second one would make another attempt in a month to ensure that there would not be a situation where they couldn't return. Of course, whether the Bai family had other Pathfinder marks remains known only to them. With the departure of the escort ship, the remaining 31 torch warships immediately took to the sky and sped toward the large copper ore site. Above the Copper Mountain continent's vault of heaven, tens of thousands of meters high, the 31 torch warships hovered quietly, directly above the large copper ore. In the center of the fleet, 5 cruisers slowly descended, heading towards the copper ore below. In the Song family warships group chat, the grandfather, Songming Song, spoke up with a reminder. In the upcoming fight with the golden-armored giant beast, the 5 cruisers will take the lead. Everyone, pay attention to your positions, just provide long-range fire support and absolutely do not approach it without permission. Did everyone get that? Dad, got it. Understood. Inside the Kangchong, Song Chi's gaze was solemn, intensely focused on the area below. On the bow of the ship, a kilometer-long sword-intent divine light was gradually coalescing. It was the mixed hollow extreme yang sword-intent divine light, charging up. The moment the golden-armored giant beast emerged from beneath the ground, it would present the perfect opportunity to attack. Missing this chance would make it much harder to hit it once it released its golden armor domain. Everyone knew this, which is why not only the Kangchong's main cannon was charging in advance. It's just that, among the many preparing attacks, the kilometer-long mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light was a bit more conspicuous. As more than 20 escort ships above were simultaneously charging, the 5 cruisers also drew steadily closer to the large copper ore below. At that moment, from Bai Chongwen's flagship, positioned lowest, a very high-frequency ultrasound was suddenly emitted straight towards the ground below. This special ultrasonic wave had a strong stimulating effect, capable of awakening the 4th-rank golden-armored giant beast below. Hum. Before long, a slight tremor could be heard from the ground below, and as time passed, the trembling became more and more alarming, with the premonition of mountains collapsing and the earth splitting. Seeing this, the 5 cruisers began to rapidly ascend. Judging from the situation, the golden-armored giant beast underground had obviously awoken. Faced with such circumstances, even the cruisers dared not confront it head-on. Perhaps Bai Chongwen's warship possessed the capability to engage in a brief direct confrontation with the wounded golden-armored giant beast, but unless absolutely necessary, who would want to clash head-on with a 4th-rank Starry Sky behemoth? Maneuverability was one of the greatest advantages of the Torch warships, and all the Torch ship captains present wanted to deal with the golden-armored giant beast through long-range firepower. The continuous crackling sound came from below. When the crack in the ground reached several kilometers in length, a terrifying head encased in golden scale armor appeared in the sight of all the Torch ship captains in the sky above. All the 2nd-rank Torch ship captains from the Song and Bai families gasped, as this was an extremely ferocious skull. The sheer width of the skull reached hundreds of meters, and the single horn on its snout was even a kilometer long. The dazzling golden light converged so intensely that people could not look directly at it. Imagine if this horn were to strike a warship, even a cruiser would be pierced straight through. More importantly, those blood-red eyes atop its skull were filled with a violent intent, sweeping across from tens of thousands of meters away. They could make one's heart instantly flare with violence, as if a tremendous rage was building inside. Song Kai quickly averted his gaze, not daring to make eye contact with the terrifying creature, and at the same time, he immediately pressed the fire button. Shua 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 shua. Dozens of beams of light burst forth, all aimed at the ferocious skull below. It wasn't just Song Kai and his crew. The 10 main cannons on the 5 cruisers roared to life as well. The 3rd-rank cruisers, unique secondary cannon projection modules followed closely behind. In an instant, over 100 different types of artillery fire all landed on the skull of the golden-armored giant beast. Boom boom boom. The terrifying explosions and energy shockwaves covered the entire surface area of the large copper ore mine. It was not over yet. Though the main cannons stopped firing, there was no buffer time for the numerous secondary cannons, which continued to relentlessly bombard the position where the golden-armored giant beast was emerging. Gray-brown smoke scattered, stones flew about, and nobody could see the specific situation in the crevice below. They could only roughly judge through the radars on the warships. However, before the 2nd round of main cannon buffering was complete, a terrifying figure had already rushed out from the dust below at high speed. Its thick golden scale armor turned into a golden afterimage as it soared towards the sky. The figure wrapped in the golden scales was nearly 10,000 meters long, with strands of mysterious golden energy coursing over its body from time to time. It had a tail with a sharp hook that trailed behind, and one could imagine that if one were to be struck by this several thousand-meter-long tail, even a standard cruiser would likely disintegrate on the spot. Seeing the rapidly approaching figure of the golden behemoth, everyone was shocked. The shock was not that the opponent could fly through the air. As a starry sky behemoth, roaming freely in the starry sky was one of their basic abilities. Even life entities of the 3rd rank and above could perform brief aerial stunts. What shocked everyone was the mere one row of golden scale armor on its head that had been shattered. In other words, the attack that had just taken place, in which nearly everyone had joined forces, only managed to break some scales off the golden-armored giant beast, without inflicting any substantial damage. The outcome was somewhat hard to accept. Are 4th-rank lifeforms really that terrifying? Aboard Kang Chong, Song Kai was also somewhat perplexed. He had just used the mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light, which could be considered the strongest attack method currently available on Kang Chong. Although he was sure that the destroyed golden scales on its head included the results of the mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light, the mere shattering of scales was far from satisfying him. No wonder Grandfather and the others always emphasized that this golden-armored giant beast has astonishing defenses, and to use armor-breaking attacks on it if possible. He understood, but Song Kai was still not in a hurry to use the external cobalt-piercing bullet launcher component. Even though he had made sufficient preparations before departing, having purchased several special cobalt shells made by his family in advance. These shells were not cheap. Furthermore, after firing 2 shells, he would have to leave the battlefield and reload, so it was essential to use them at the right moment. For instance, when attacking that kilometer-long wound on its belly. Yes, there was a nearly kilometer-sized wound on the belly of the golden-armored giant beast, apparently inflicted during some fight, and this injury was by no means light. Importantly, there seemed to be some alien race's power of laws remaining in the wound, constantly hindering its healing. If it wasn't for the starry sky behemoth's strong vitality and its ability to extract metal attribute energy for recovery, it would probably have died from the terrifying wound alone. However, precisely because this wound was located on its underbelly and difficult to target, everyone had chosen to attack its head previously. Possibly because its slumber was disturbed and it was particularly furious, the speed at which the golden-armored giant beast surged upwards was astonishingly fast, crossing nearly 100,000 meters in the blink of an eye. This caused the second-rank torch warship above, which was retreating upwards at the first opportunity, to not only fail in widening the distance from it but to get even closer instead. Buzz. 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 Outside the warship's hull, numerous tiny golden light spears kept bombarding the warship's energy shield, causing the dark matter energy shield to shake violently. This was one of the special innate abilities of the golden-armored giant beast called Splitting Gold Spear. Combined with its affinity for the metal attribute, as long as there was sufficient metal energy to supply, it could nearly strike endlessly. Warship under attack, energy shield damaged, shield value minus 24,600. Warship under attack, energy shield damaged, shield value minus 23,400. The sound of the intelligence warning in his ears made Song Kai anxious. One had to admit that the attack methods of a 4th rank level creature were formidable. The damage each of these tiny splitting gold spears caused to the dark matter energy shield every second completely surpassed the recovery ability of the neutron star core pulse feature. Even the orange quality dark matter energy shield generator, enhanced to LV-39, was struggling, let alone the other second-rank torch ship captains. Glancing around, one could clearly see the energy shields on the outer layers of the surrounding second-rank escort ships dimming at a terrifying rate. If this continued and the energy shields were completely overloaded, the warship armor and the ships themselves would be next. At that moment, all warships were firing up their engines to full power, trying to increase their speed further to escape the range of attack from those golden light spears behind them. Below, the communication group chat among the 5 cruisers was equally intense. Ming Song, you and I go directly to intercept it. Everyone else, try to attack its underbelly. The speaker was Bai Chongwen, and only he dared to address Song Ming Song that way. Having said that, without waiting for Song Ming Song's response, he took the lead and drove his flagship downwards to meet the creature. Swish. The golden-armored giant beast immediately responded. It lightly swung its golden giant tail, gleaming with light, and turned it into a shadowy strike that lashed out. Seeing this, Bai Chongwen didn't control his flagship to dodge, but instead directly confronted the attack. Only by doing so could he stop the golden-armored giant beast from pursuing further. Clang. Amidst the intense metal collision sound, Bai Chongwen's flagship suffered little damage, with only 8% damage to the warship armor. Above, seizing the opportunity, Song Ming Song fired full force from the 2 main cannons at the golden-armored giant beast's hull, while also paying close attention to the battle below. Seeing that Bai Chongwen's flagship had suffered only minor damage after taking a direct hit from the golden-armored giant beast's tail, the first thought in Song Ming Song's mind was that the other party's warship armor must also have been enhanced to the 4th rank. Roar. The golden-armored giant beast was completely enraged, and golden mysterious energy gathered all over its body. In the next second, the speed of the 2 cruisers closest to it sharply decreased, as if they had fallen into a quagmire. They were trapped in the golden armor domain. The invisible domain spread out in an instant. First, the 2 cruisers were restricted, and then, As the expansion sped up, the three cruisers above quickly fell into it as well. That was not the end. The domain of the golden armored giant beast was so vast that even the numerous escort ships that were over 100,000 meters apart were about to be engulfed by it. Seeing this, the more than 20 escort ships could only use their own methods, and for a moment, the already extremely fast fleet of warships saw their speed surge once again. Inside Kang Chong, Song Kai did not choose to utilize the power of the Void Escape Orb, but instead activated the Light Energy Aggregation feature of the Light Energy Aggregation engine. With the engine entering a state of extreme overload, Kang Chong's speed suddenly doubled. This increase in speed was among the highest for all the escort ships around. Consequently, one by one, the escort ships were covered by the invisible domain, their velocity plummeting abruptly. It was as though they had entered a slow-motion sequence. In Kang Chong, while controlling the warship to speed through space, Song Kai did not take his gaze off the other warships behind him, watching their inexplicably slowed speeds with a peculiar sensation creeping over him. Though he did not know how much time had passed, the golden armor domain released by the golden armored giant beast finally ceased its expansion. By that time, the diameter of the area it covered had reached a terrifying 1 million meters. Nearly the entire vault of heaven above Copper Mountain continent was enveloped by the domain. Looking around Kang Chong, only 5 escort ships had managed to break through. Of those, 3 belonged to the Bai family, and aside from Kang Chong, only my father's Qingkong remained. Before the 5 torch ship captains could begin discussing their next course of action, a new change occurred within the invisible domain below. As the domain's controller, the golden armored giant beast unquestionably had absolute authority within its domain. Though it had not reached the level of the masters of laws in secret realms, it was still more than enough to utterly suppress the 5 cruisers and 21 escort ships. The world was changing color as metallic energy boiled throughout the entire domain, the boundless shining gold light almost covering the entire vault of heaven over Copper Mountain continent. If one thought that this was all, they would be gravely mistaken. As boundless gold light rose into the sky, a gold spear thousands of meters long pierced through the clouds above Copper Mountain continent, plummeting from the heavens. The tip of this golden spear was wreathed in the terrifying power of the golden law. As it fell swiftly toward the ground below, frightening dark cracks appeared in the void alongside it. The spear, wrapped in the law of gold, easily tore the space around it apart. The more than 20 torch warships within the golden armor domain flickered with ghost light, reflecting the fear that the torch ship captains must have felt inside. Without a doubt, the fearsome 10,000-meter golden spear was aimed at them, and if they were hit by this spear, forged entirely from the power of the law, all the torch warships within the domain would be unable to escape a sinking fate. This was not to be questioned. An attack formed by the power of laws, further reinforced by the domain, is not something cruisers and escort ships could withstand, unless they were equipped with components like the neutron star core armor on Kang Chong. Outside the domain, tension filled the faces of Song Kai and Song Chao. Although they were not within the range of the golden armor domain, all the other members of their family were still inside, including Chen Lixia. In contrast to the urgency of Song Kai and others, Bai Chongwen inside the cruiser below seemed remarkably calm. His eyes focused, and with a thought, a special component within the warship was activated. An orange light flickered, an odd halo forming at the base of his flagship, and the strange energy emanating from the halo began to spread rapidly in all directions. It's the domain collision instrument. That old man is finally willing to activate it. In Furious Lion, Song Mingsong mumbled to himself upon seeing this scene. He knew of the special orange quality, domain collision instrument, component since Bai Shirong had sent him the attributes of the component in advance when she had asked for his participation. Indeed, it was this special orange component that had ultimately convinced him to agree to her invitation, otherwise, merely being in a severely injured state would not have been enough to persuade him to agree so readily. No matter how severely injured a fourth-rank lifeform was, it was still a fourth-rank lifeform. Although, in a severely injured state, they might not be able to make extended use of the power of laws, the starry sky behemoth with a special domain could compensate for its injuries to some extent, allowing it to utilize the power of laws against its foes multiple times within its domain. So, only by shattering its domain's power could they genuinely stand a chance in battle with it. As this special energy emerged, wherever it reached, the golden armor domain of the golden armored giant beast quickly dissipated. In just a short time, the domain space that had spanned 1,000,000 meters collapsed thunderously, leaving Song Kai and others feeling as if they had experienced an anticlimax. Above Copper Mountain Continent, now deprived of its domain's power, the golden armored giant beast in its severely wounded state seemed somewhat powerless to continue. Consequently, the golden spear falling rapidly from the sky above was greatly affected. As it continued to plummet, its 10,000-meter length rapidly shrank, and in just a moment, it was reduced to about 3,000 meters. The other warships weren't just waiting around either. While they were raising their altitude, their main cannons fired one after another. Amidst the booming of the cannons, the might of the 3,000-meter golden light spear from the vault of heaven continued to diminish, and soon only about a kilometer of it remained. However, by that point, the threat of this spear of law had dropped to a limit. Below, the furious lion was rapidly ascending, and the two main cannons at the bow had somehow transformed into a Eugen ram horn emitting a ghost light. Boom! The golden light spear and Eugen ram horn collided head-on, unleashing a terrifying wave of energy and setting off urgent warnings inside the furious lion. But compared to an attack of the fourth rank, the warning siren seemed almost pleasant. Warning: energy shield under attack, shield value decreased by 54%, current shield value at 28%. Although the shield value of the furious lion's energy shield was halved in one go, don't forget that this was a fourth rank level attack. In theory, one hit should have completely overloaded the energy shield of purple quality and taken out a large portion of the warship armor as well. Inside the furious lion, Song Ming Song's raucous laughter echoed. Directly countering a fourth rank lifeform's law attack, even one that had been greatly reduced in power, was exhilarating for him. While reactivating another component on the warship, a blue-quality energy shield restoration component, the furious lion's external energy shield began to solidify once more. Then Song Ming Song steered the warship downwards again. Below, Bai Chongwen was already engaging in combat with the golden armored giant beast with his flagship, providing the other warships above with an opportunity to attack. Seeing this, the slightly dimmed Eugen ram horn on the bow of the furious lion retracted and transformed back into two main cannons. The orange quality, apocalyptic annihilation cannon, among the two main cannons charged up. When Song Ming Song saw the right moment, the apocalyptic annihilation cannon burst forth, with its scorching annihilation pulse beam directly striking the lower belly of the golden armored giant beast from below. However, despite deliberately aiming at its wound, the effect was not ideal. The apocalyptic annihilation cannon, though enhanced to LV-39, was like the pure Yang sword beam cannon on the Kang Chong in that it lacked the armor break attribute under a normal shot. Its active feature, apocalyptic annihilation pulse, did carry an extra armor breaking effect, but this trait had already been used in the initial strike, and it couldn't be used again for a short time. While the lower belly of the golden armored giant beast was its defensive weak point, that was relative to its impenetrable scale armor. Without an armor break feature, the damage inflicted by the mere third rank level cannon fire was very limited. The golden armored giant beast, which possessed extreme intelligence, also had its countermeasures. Knowing that the people from the Song and Bai families would focus their attacks around its belly wound, it had prepared accordingly. A law light screen, formed by the power of metal laws, was placed precisely over the wound on its belly, making it difficult for the barrage of cannon fire from the torch warships to penetrate and damage the wound underneath. Seeing this, Song Ming Song's eyes flashed with excitement as two main cannons on the furious lion, aside from the orange main cannon, apocalyptic annihilation cannon, included a purple quality main cannon which possessed a special shield-breaking trait. The main cannon with the shield-breaking trait quickly charged and struck the lower belly of the golden-armored giant beast at the same angle. When the blast cleared, Song Ming Song frowned. Worthy of the power of laws, the armor break effect could only dim it slightly, nowhere near the direct shattering we have seen before. After pondering for a moment, Song Ming Song's voice rang out in the group chat of the cruisers. Who else has a shield breaker main cannon? Secondary cannons won't do. They're too weak. We must penetrate this law light screen at its belly. I have one right here. Bai Shirong responded first. Her flagship happened to have a shield-breaking main cannon. But before she could take the next step, the golden-armored giant beast at the center had already been thoroughly enraged by Bai Chongwen's flagship, with which it was incessantly struggling. Its already crimson eyes turned even more blood-red. At the same time, its several kilometers long tail shot straight toward the heavens, the terrifying golden light turning the already gold tail into a beam of golden light. As the beam soared, boundless golden light gathered in the sky, eventually forming an endless golden canopy at the top of the vault of heaven. Countless kilometer-long golden light spears hung from the canopy, densely packed, creating a hair-raising sight. No one knew what kind of move this was from the golden-armored giant beast, but everyone knew that compared to the small splitting gold spears it had fired before, these were the true spears of law. Moreover, if those spears descended like dense rain, the land within a million-meter radius below would be perforated like a sieve, not to mention the torch warships completely enveloped underneath. Everybody, full force, disrupt this beast. An aged voice came through the group chat. Inside the Kang Chong, Song Kai could care less about anything else. The mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light wasn't cooled down yet, so he could only use the external armor-piercing cobalt shell launcher. Clack clack clack. Directly beneath the Kang Chong, the perfectly concealed launcher quickly exposed itself, and the two special cobalt bullets over 30 meters in length that were mounted on it looked striking. This wasn't over. In the Kangchong main control room, spectral energy surged within Song Chi's body, activating the Ruins Market Travel command he was clutching in his hand. Only after the Kangchong had successfully entered the law enhancement state did he press the launch button without any hesitation. Whoosh whoosh. Not holding back, two special cobalt shells were fired out simultaneously, leaving behind two long trails of flames in the vault of heaven. Below, the golden-armored giant beast, already slowed down with various effects like binding, freezing, and the like stacked on it, and without the enhancement of a domain, had not been able to dodge the continuous bombardment. Crack. After taking numerous rounds of bombardment, not even the scale armor of the golden-armored giant beast could withstand it any longer, and the gold scales on its head cracked open on a large scale, allowing subsequent attacks to finally penetrate and injure its flesh. At this moment, two cobalt shells descended from the sky, precisely striking the cracked section on the top of the golden-armored giant beast's head. The special cobalt shells, which already possessed notable penetrating power, combined with the armor-piercing attribute of the external cobalt-piercing bullet launcher, instantly embedded themselves into the flesh and blood at the top of the golden-armored giant beast's head. Boom boom. After two intense explosion sounds, a roar also came from below. This roar clearly contained a faint wail of agony, as well as boundless brutality. Clearly, this attack had caused notable damage to the golden-armored giant beast. Because of this hit, the golden spear canopy of the Law of Gold in the Vault of Heaven dimmed significantly, and countless kilometers-long spears, which were originally about to fall like a covering blanket, had yet to drop from the canopy. Below, several cruisers noticed this as well, and they also rapidly revealed their own external launchers, such as nuclear bomb launchers, deep space torpedo launchers, etc. Like that, after continuous bombing for a few minutes, the dense starry sky behemoth's golden spears law in the depths of the sky had completely dissipated. Just when everyone thought the golden armored giant beast was about to lose its strength and fall, This colossal creature, nearly 10,000 meters long, stopped caring about the torch warships above, turned its body, and the law of gold continued to flow around it. No matter how the torch warships above attacked, it completely ignored them and kept heading towards the ground. It's trying to return underground. Stop it. As a metal attribute starry sky behemoth, it could thrive on the floating land, which was extremely rich in metal minerals, just like a fish in water. Once it managed to burrow back into the floating land, they would have no way to deal with it. At that moment, the cruiser controlled by Bai Chongwen suddenly accelerated, quickly catching up with the golden armored giant beast that was flying downward, narrowly dodging several strikes from its tail hook. The cruiser then maneuvered behind the golden armored giant beast. Activating some new special component, numerous chains shot out from the cruiser, rapidly entwining around the golden armored giant beast ahead. Additionally, 4 chains were fired from the rear of the cruiser, directly towards 4 cruisers that had not evaded in time. Thus, the 5 cruisers, with full engine power, kept trying to lift upward. Using these special chains, they channeled their strength together, desperately dragging the golden armored giant beast below to prevent it from falling any further. The two sides thus found themselves in a deadlock. Meanwhile, an aged voice echoed through the more than 20 escort ships. Quick! Attack with full force, this component won't last long. Without the need for this reminder, the moment the 5 cruisers locked in a stalemate with the golden armored giant beast, the more than 20 escort ships had already begun to take action one after another.